ready to fly.
Hey, what's up you guys? It's the author, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Blendin's game. So, just to get right into the episode, what I thought of it was that it was a very good episode. I thought that they communicated what they wanted to communicate very well. I thought that the information presented to us was executed perfectly, and honestly I think that the message of the overall episode is really good. And that's not something I can say about, really, to be honest, every episode of Gravity Falls, but really most shows. Not every episode of the show is always perfect, and I think that the message here is just showing the whole like fatherly figure, and that just very interesting message that was presented in this episode, like how Stan is the fatherly figure for Seuss, because Seuss's father wasn't there for him, and Stan offering him a job at the Mystery Shack and giving him purpose as the handyman really just is a really good message to send. But I also really like how it was presented to show the backstory of Seuss, so we can learn more about him as a person. So getting right into the episode for the codes, I'm going to read you off the codes real quick for the end page. So what the end page says is: join the Time Paradox Avoidance Enforcement Squadron. Great hours, solid benefits, sign up yesterday. So that's the end page there, obviously talking about the Time Paradox Avoidance Enforcement Squadron. Just really, not really a huge deal there, just sort of an advertisement, if you will, for that. You guys should have joined yesterday, or you should join yesterday, to be honest. I mean, it's a great thing to do. Anyway, next up on the codes is the end code using the cipher key capacitor, which you can actually see here on screen, which this was actually found fairly quickly compared to the last one, which was on the bones of the dinosaur. This one's fairly early in the episode. You can see it on the building right there. Hard to make out, but I'm confident that you'll be able to see it. And if you use that to decode the end code, which ends up coming up to "don't do the time crime if you can't do the time." So that's obviously referencing one, the crimes of Blendin, and but also the crimes of what everybody else has ended up doing in the time prison that you go to. So that's really what that's saying, because what globnar in the episode is, just a bit more of a breakdown of the episode. Globnar is a method to, one, provide justice, but it's also a method to kind of just sort out, like, if someone invokes it, it's really a dueling gladiator type thing brought on by the Time Baby, and I'll get into that in a second. But what globnar actually is it's just really a gladiator situation. So as we see in the episode, Blendin invokes it when he's about to be arrested and taken away, and he ends up having two challengers because he believes that they're the ones who have caused him to do this crime. He believes they're guilty and he is not. So he invokes it, they end up fighting, and what happens in the end is, if you win globnar, you, one, get a time wish, which is pretty much anything you want in the world. In any time ever, you get that wish, and also you get to decide the fate of your challenger, or the person you've challenged, rather. So, or well, it's really vice versa depending on who you look at it and whose position you're in, but that's how it gets to happen. So we see that happen throughout the episode, and we also see at the very end of the episode, we see Dipper and Mabel decide to let Blendin go free, and they give their time wish to Seuss because they believe that Seuss wants to meet his dad, but he instead just wishes to fix up Mabel and Dipper, which really goes along with who he is, the handyman. So it really goes along to show that that's really who he is, down to the heart, down to the soul. He's the handyman first and foremost, and he's going to fix everyone up. He also wishes for eternal pizza, which who wouldn't. So that's really it for that part of the episode. So now I'm going to get into some of the continuity in this episode, because it was actually very interesting to see like the past future versions of different characters in the show. So first off, we have Robbie. We see him earlier in the episode actually saying something very similar. He says, "Yeah, laser Robbie," and then later in the episode we see him as a young child shoot Dipper in the face with a water gun, and he says, "Yeah, young Robbie." And interestingly enough, I saw this pointed out somewhere, he does have a bandage on his face. Is he the author of the journals? Honestly, I personally doubt that, but that's interesting to point out. Bandage on his face. Why does Robbie have a bandage on his face? The world may never know, or will we? Anyway, so let's get on to the next one. We do see Wendy as a child, and she does say she does think that Dipper is cute, which is actually very funny, because obviously Dipper has a crush on Wendy, or had a crush on Wendy. He supposedly has gotten over her, but it's interesting to kind of give him that insight to, Wendy does like him, but it's kind of crazy because he's older than her now, and he gets to see it from her perspective, and how weird it would be to have that age gap just from that perspective. That's just really what the show, I think, was trying to showcase, and it was very cool to see that. We also get to see Toby as the Raz Dazzler in different points of his life. He thinks he's going to go on Broadway when indeed he's performing at Seuss's surprise party, so that's very interesting to see. I thought that was a very funny point in the episode. We also get to see the part of the episode where Mabel ends up in, well, past, or very confusing. We also get to see the part of where Seuss helps Mabel and Dipper get into the vending machine. We then learn that Mabel actually showed Seuss how to get into the vending machine with the whole tap tap wabam thing that he did earlier. So that was another very cool continuity thing to do. One other thing that we see in the episode is when Stan is unveiling the wax figures in the episode, we do see Sherlock Holmes at one frame in the episode, and we just hear him talking about it in the episode. So that's another form of continuity referencing the wax figures that happened in season 1. One other thing that we actually saw, that you could actually see in the episode, was when they were walking past during the past Gravity Falls scene. You do see Bud's auto just had a baby sale, but baby is crossed out. It has demon. You also see Bud Gleeful later in the episode with his wife pushing what is obviously Gideon in his carriage. So it's kind of funny to see that Gideon is a demon child because he actually ends up being kind of like a loved person in the town and then a hated person in the town. So I wonder who wrote demon on the on that sign. Like who would have been the one to go and draw that on there? Someone graffitied it. Maybe it was Robbie, maybe it was just maybe it was somebody who knew that he would end up doing bad things. So that's another very interesting thing to point out in this episode as well. One other thing to point out in the show is that at the very end of the episode, we do see when Stan does hire Seuss onto the Mystery Shack staff, we see him kicking out the old handyman, which, interestingly enough, looks a lot like McGucket's son to me. And what I find even more interesting about that is that if it's McGucket's son, obviously, well, being a lab assistant, which is what he was to the author, what we learned in the last episode, it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say, okay, well, his skills run in the family. So his son must be is obviously a handyman at some point, but he's not a very good one because he's being kicked out of the Mystery Shack. But I wonder how he got involved with the Mystery Shack. It's obviously not too far-fetched to say that Old Man McGucket got his son a job there because that is his son, but how and like why and how was he involved? We know he was the assistant to the author of the journals, so was Stan the author? Was Stan's twin the author? Was any of that? Nothing's really being debunked in this episode or more proven. Just this is a bit more evidence to suggest that that Stan's involvement in the journals and just more of that involvement is just showcased there with Old Man McGucket's son. Also, something that was very interesting to notice in the episode was when they provided us pretty much a full frame of Seuss's driver's license. First of all, we get to see his full name, which is on screen. I'm not gonna bother pronouncing it because I will butcher it, I guarantee it, but it's right on there. And we do find out how it's actually spelled, which is it's spelt like Jesus, so his full name is Jesus. We see all of that, and we also see where he lives, and we also see his date of birth, which gives us insight into when in the summer they are. They are actually in July, July 13th, which is crazy considering that they're like, you think about it, like how many episodes they've had, and you'd think they'd be farther in the summer, but they're only at the very beginning of July, so they've still got a lot more to cover before the summer is completely over and before they, have to go back home. Also interesting to note, Seuss is an organ donor. I don't know what was going on in his license plate photo, but I'm guessing that he just like blinked or something weird. And yeah, so just very interesting to point out there. A lot of information regarding Seuss and, just his driver's license and all of that. So that's a very interesting photo indeed. And that's really it for this episode, with the exemption of a couple of screens of the future and the past as well, because it's very interesting to see like future, past, all of that. The whole globnar escape was a very interesting. It provided a lot of detail. We got to learn more about the Time Baby and what he is. He just comes to life. And we don't really know a whole lot about the Time Baby. We just know he's just this big baby that rules the future of, well, what appears to be the entire world. So hopefully we'll get to learn more about the Time Baby. Also, hopefully we'll be able to get to learn more about Bill Cipher's involvement with the Time Baby and the future in general, because he's just like a crazy thing. So we don't really know where he is in every episode. We don't know really what he's doing, but we know he's involved. So I can't wait to figure out what's going on with the baby and Bill Cipher, and hopefully we'll find out soon. Hopefully we'll find out more about the author and all of that great stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know this was pretty short comparatively to the Society of the Blind, but like I said, there's not a whole lot in this episode. Be sure to check out clips and whatnot on my main channel. Link will be in the description below. And that's really it. I will see you guys very soon. I will be examining what hopefully will come out the next promo for the episode. Also, currently the agents have not been found in this, so if they are found, if and when they are found, link will be in the description below for them as well. So I hope you guys did enjoy. I will see you guys later, and have a good rest of your day. Bye!